everyone, I'm Ari here with Rachel, and we're your hosts for the Merry Writer podcast. This week we're on episode 251, and we're asking, who is Rachel Poli 2.0? Before we start, if you enjoy the show, please consider checking out our coffee page. You can follow the page for free, as we have plenty of goodies for all. If you're feeling generous, a one-off donation will get you access to more treats, or you can become a Merry Writer for just $2 a month. For this, you get access to all the items in our shop, including exclusive goodies, as well as access to monthly bonuses, all while helping to support our podcast. If that's not your style, but you still enjoy our podcast, then please subscribe wherever you're listening if you haven't already. And if you're on YouTube, consider dropping us a like. Okay, so if you have been following the podcast for a while, you may know that we did an episode with this title 2 years ago, hence why I added the 2.0. So why are we doing it again? The reason for that is we are testing our new guest format. If you heard episode 248 at the end of last year, you will know that we're moving away from topic-based episodes with our guests, and we're going to move into interview styles. To see how well this would actually work, we decided to use ourselves as guinea pigs, so the first 2 months guests, if you will, are Rachel and myself. We know several guests who wanted to be on the podcast and struggled with topic ideas, and so moving to an interview structure allows us to kind of showcase their work, discuss their processes, and lets you get to know them better. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, enough waffling, let's get on to some questions. Rachel, what does your writing process currently look like?
Currently, it's a mess at the moment. I used to have such a structured writing process back in the day when I first started writing, but I just don't anymore. I wing most of my stuff now. I used to be a hardcore planner and I would outline everything to a T. And then someday I had an epiphany and I realized that an outline is more like a guideline. And I didn't actually need to stick with it as much as I used to. So my writing process, it's changed over the years, as it probably should, and it kind of looks different for every project that I work on, because every project has a different amount of research, it has a different amount of preparation, and it also differs because I write a lot of series. So the prep is going to look different for book 2 than it looked like for book 1, because book 1, it's all shiny and new, and in book 2, most things are already established, like the characters, obviously. But so in terms of like actual writing my manuscripts, I just kind of wing it and see where it takes me. I still set things up in Scrivener a lot, and I have like a basic template in Scrivener for notes and research and draft 1 and so on and so forth. And I just kind of go through it as things pop in my head. I kind of slowly put the puzzle pieces together and just see how it fits. And that's pretty much it. But yeah, it's different for every single project. And I mean, in terms of a writing routine, trying to be better at that. We'll see. I don't know. It's a new year. I don't know if I'll stick to those goals or not, but fingers crossed, maybe. I don't know.
It still shocks me that you're kind of more pantsing now, because you were always such a outliner. And yeah, it's so funny how you change, though. You do change as you get older, as projects change. You do find what works once doesn't always work anymore.
It's very frustrating, I gotta say, because I want to plan and I want to outline, but it just doesn't work for me anymore. And I don't know. I always thought it was so weird when people would pants their novels, and I was like, how do you do that? But it's kind of more fun that way, in a way. Not all the time. It's still very frustrating, but yeah, when you just fly by the seat of your pants, it's a little more fun.
It is. It might take more work at the end when you have to fix continuity issues and plot holes, but getting it down, I have to admit, pantsing is kind of good. But I think you did the right thing, though. Like you said, it wasn't working, so you started changing it. I think it's when people push and stick to the same thing because it worked once, or like maybe it worked for a while, and they just push and push and push. It's like that's, I think, when you can stagnate, because you're not changing and growing and developing with whatever needs to happen.
Well, that's just it. A lot of people, they think that, oh, if this worked for one novel, it's definitely going to work for my next novel. And that's not the case at all, especially if you write in different genres. But I used to, when I transitioned from planning to pantsing, I realized that I didn't have to write my outline before the first draft. So I started writing the outline as I wrote the first draft, which I still considered myself a planner, even though I was pantsing the book but just keeping track of it. So it was pantsing. I've been a pantser for a lot longer than I realized, but I still told people that I was a planner and that I outlined, but I really didn't, because I did it at the same time.
That's it. I think if you turn the word pantser into discovery, a discovery writer, it's clearer that that's what you were doing, but not when you're actively outlining. Even if you're doing it as you write, it's like, well, I'm outlining. There's an outline. Must be a planner.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's it. That's pretty much it.
With that, let's go to the next question. What's your most favorite thing? What's your most favorite? What is your favorite thing you've ever written?
I'm gonna sound like I'm playing favorites with my books, but I'm gonna have to, as of right now, I'm gonna say Apparitions Anonymous. And no, I'm not just saying that because it recently released. I'm saying that because it's the first book that I've started and completed in a timely manner without getting burnt out with it. And before all of you come at me with pitchforks and torches, when I say timely manner, I'm not saying that you have to complete a novel within a certain amount of time. Take however long you need. If it takes you 15 years to write a book, it takes you 15 years to write a book. It's not a race. There's nothing wrong with that. But when I say timely manner, I just mean I struggle so much completing what I start. And I have so many arts and crafts projects in my closet because I was like, I'm going to start a new hobby. So I bought all the materials for it. And then I work on it maybe for like a day, and then I never finish it. And then I move on to the next arts and craft project. And I do the same exact thing with my books. I get an idea and I start planning it and I prep it and I start writing it. And I might get like, I don't know, maybe like 20,000 words into the book. And then a new shiny idea appears in my brain. I'm like, well, I have to work on that. I honest to God think that the only project that I've ever started and has been the most consistent with is this podcast. And it's only because Ari is there to help keep me accountable, and we split everything 50-50. So when writing my books, I'm doing it by myself. And if a new idea comes along, I just get distracted. Or sometimes I've been working on something for so long that you get burnt out with it, you get sick of it, you get tired of it. It's not to say that the idea isn't any good anymore, but you just get tired of it. And so you move on to the next idea. And Apparitions Anonymous was one of those things that I had the idea for it and I wrote it and I really liked what I came up with. And new ideas kept forming as I was writing it. And I just wrote it and I just continued it. And I think I wrote it in less than a year, and it's probably, well, to me, it's like one of the better things that I've ever written, ironically enough. I don't know if people would feel the same way, but yeah, I think Apparitions Anonymous is my favorite thing just because I was so into it that I was able to complete it in a timely manner. I didn't get sick of it. And I really like the messages that are in the book. I don't know if other people will get those messages, but to me, I like them.
That's fine. I don't think it needs to be something you've been working on for ages. And it's funny because, as you said, you wrote that in such a short time in a way. Because I remember when you first mentioned that, and then suddenly it was like, oh, it's all written, and oh, here's the cover, and now it's been released. It was this sudden cascade, and you could tell it was such a passion project. Like you kept this passion with it the whole time, and now it's poof out into the world, and that is brilliant. So, and if you haven't gone to see it, if you haven't read it and reviewed it, why not, people? We put a mini merry moment out about it. There's been stuff all over. I think it's very helpful if you consider buying the book. We will put links at the end, just so you know.
I am going to make a quick prediction here because we're recording this interview slightly earlier than January. I'm going to make a prediction that by the time this episode comes out, I've probably stopped talking about it. So that's probably why people haven't read it yet, because I know for a fact the book is going to release and I'll talk about it for a few weeks, maybe a month, and then I'm probably never going to speak about it again. But I do agree with you about the whole passion project thing. That's a really nice way of putting it. I didn't get sick of it once. And I'm still coming up with ideas for other stories for it, which is great. Or frustrating. I don't know. I can never just have one book out.
It is good because I did notice it was the Grim Reaper Files book 1, so we kind of assume there has to be a book 2. So maybe by the time this interview goes out, book 2 will be well on its way.
I hope so. Well, no, I hope so. I do have plans for it, but yeah, no, book one, it wasn't supposed to be book one. It was just supposed to be a fun standalone, and that was it.
Yeah, I appreciate that neither of us can do that. We don't write standalones ever. And speaking of that, your writing career goals have changed recently, but not regarding only writing standalones. Why is that? That's the worst segue ever.
No, it actually kind of fits though with that person's anonymous because the two of them are kind of linked, but well, not really, actually. But basically, my writing career goals have changed because I'm sick of everything. And I mean that with love. I really, really mean that with love. But honestly, like I'm sick of social media. I'm sick of AI. I'm sick of the constant changes in the writing industry that have gone on for the past like 7 to 8 years. And I don't want to keep up with the trends. I don't want to do whatever everyone else is doing. And I don't want to stress anymore. Like I'm already perpetually stressed because I have anxiety. If there's a little thing of stress that I can take off my plate, I want it gone. And writing for me has been super stressful these past few years, especially since AI came out. I quit my day job in mid 2017 to pursue a writing career. And I dabbled in all these different freelance areas of writing, such as book publicity and, whatnot, all that stuff, content writing. And so many things have changed. And I can't keep up and I don't want to keep up. And I know that that's a common industry thing for not just writing, but for anything. Things change, things grow, technology improves or doesn't. But it changes things. And I didn't want to keep up anymore because it was too stressful. And when I lost my job due to AI, I ended up having a year-long identity crisis. And I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself anymore because my entire online personality was that I'm a writer, I'm a content writer, I'm an author, and I do all these things, hooray. But everybody was so into AI and nobody wanted to read like human work that it got really depressing, really discouraging. So I finally came to the conclusion that I was like, I don't have to write for people. And I never really felt like I had to write for an audience. I always wrote and came up with ideas based off of ideas that I would love to read, that I would love to see on a TV screen, like whatever. And I just came to the realization that I was like, I don't want to stick with these trends. I don't want to be salesy. I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to write for the sake of creating an income. I mean, the passive income would be nice for sure, but I don't want to do it full time anymore. And ironically enough, that's kind of around the time that I came to that realization, I stopped writing for a little while and I started pursuing writing in a different manner. I actually went back to school and I'm getting a professional certificate actually, by the time this episode releases, hopefully I'll have the professional certificate in video game writing. And those courses actually helped me view novel writing in a brand new light. And I could go on and on about that, but I won't because that's not the purpose of this episode. But it helped me get my spark back, I guess, for creative writing, not just with video game writing, but also with my novels. And that's where Apparitions Anonymous kind of kicked off. I already had the idea, but I was kind of reinvigorated to actually write it and complete it. And because I've decided I don't want to be a full-time author and that I just want to get my work out there and self-publish it and say, hey, look, I did a thing. If you want to check it out, please do. But because of that, the pressure just completely lifted. And I've ironically been more confident in my work and I've actually been talking about it a little bit more rather than when I wanted to do it for a career. So it's kind of weird. Like my career goals changed because I didn't want to do this anymore. And in turn, I ended up sticking with it and being more, I don't know what the word is, confident with it, but I've been more consistent with it and stuff. So it's kind of weird how things happened. But yeah, basically my career goals changed because of the writing industry and AI and all that. But I've been a lot happier with it.
I can see that. I can see it's like the writing community is not always an easy place. There are a lot of great people, a lot of good support. There's also a lot of toxicity. The AI thing, we've mentioned this several times on the podcast, how much we hate AI. There is an episode coming up, it's like 269 or something, where we will rip it apart because that's what our feelings are. But yeah, it's awful when it does take people's work, and it's taking creativity as well. So I can see why you would get like kind of bummed out about the whole thing. But I do find it interesting that, as you said, the moment you took the pressure off yourself and said, I don't want to follow the trend, I don't want to end up being a full-time writer, I don't want to follow this intense path of to be a full-time writer you have to do XYZ, and you have to be all over social media, and you have to do this and that and everything else, and you just sort of took those pressures off and shook them away. That's when you kind of almost like you could breathe again. It's like, oh wow, I still want to be a writer. You didn't have to instinctively say it. You just were, because you started writing and you wrote the book and you published the book and you got the cover and everything. And it's almost like the original dream of being a full-time writer, and all the baggage it comes with because of the way the community is designed and how we're told we have to do this and that if you want to be successful, you want to do this. It's almost like it was crushing you. And now you're like free to enjoy it. And look how much it's worked for you. So awesome.
Well, that's just it. I know I've said this on the podcast before, but the term success does not have a definition. I know it's technically in the dictionary, but every individual defines success differently. And I think when I wanted to be a full-time author, I was utilizing the version of success that all full-time authors have, or all indie authors have, or like all of their goals. I wanted to be a full-time author. And because of that, there's like a certain path you have to follow, and there are certain things you have to do. And I just didn't want to do it anymore, because I realized I'm like, that's not actually what success means for me. Because honestly, not to sound corny, but my version is success is just me being happy, and I just want to frickin' write. And that's it.
That's it exactly though. I mean, I'm just going to say something. When we first started this podcast, I can't remember which episode it was, we got a comment on YouTube, and it was just one of those shitty, snarky comments. And thankfully we moderated, so I think I just deleted it. But I can't remember what episode it was. We mentioned something about how we didn't want to get famous, right? We didn't want to be in the limelight. Some person with an opinion who felt the need to come on and share their opinion put on about the fact that like we were lying. Who the hell wouldn't want to be famous? Now, what I think this gentleman was trying to say was, we said we didn't want to be famous, and I think he equated fame and rich. Now, don't get me wrong, I will always take rich. If somebody offered me money just to do my own writing, but without the fame, they just said, hey, I want to support you, like, you know, patrons of old, and just throw money at me, I will never turn that down, because money makes you feel comfortable and safe and secure. And honestly, I maybe I do want a super yacht, right? I'm just saying. But the truth still happens. I don't want to be famous. Rachel, I assume you don't want to be famous. When you're full of anxiety, the last thing you want to do is be famous, because you're in the limelight. You're in everyone's staring at you.
Dude, even though it's just you and me, you interviewing me and me talking about my work is making me sweat. So, I mean, no, I do not want to be in the limelight. Absolutely not. But yeah, the money would be nice, not gonna lie.
Yeah, because that's a totally separate thing. And it's the same with success. You hear the word success and everyone thinks, oh, well, you need to be, the next big name. You need to be the one that's been interviewed on all the talk shows, and their face is everywhere. And it's like, no. If that's the only version of success, then I don't want to be successful. If it's, I can make enough money for this, or if it's that I get to finish my books and they're out in the world and people are reading them, that's it. So you're 100% right. Success hasn't got an official definition, because it depends on what you want. And it was just, yeah. So I just thought I'd share that comment that I deleted, because it just felt petulant, if I'm honest.
I don't even know if you told me about that comment.
I may not have. I think I was just annoyed, because it was just this like, you're lying. And it's like, oh, so you're telling me what I am, what I'm thinking,
what I'm feeling?
Yeah, no. If I got the riches of being a high profile author, but not the massive amount of success to the point where like people know my name and I'm everywhere and everyone wants to interview me and everything, no. But the money, yeah. Because I'm only human.
Yeah, the money, absolutely. And I mean, that's also a common misconception of being a writer as well, because I remember when I was a kid and I told people I was torn between being a teacher and being an author, almost everybody was like, oh, be an author because you'll make bank and you'll get so much money. And now, granted, I was like in middle school, so we can all plead that we were young and dumb. And obviously, the industry was vastly different back then than it is now. But like, no, that's not how it works. And again, yeah, as Ari said, I think people just assume that success means rich and fame. Like the two are linked, and it's like, no, it doesn't have to be linked. Does not have to be linked. It's not linked.
No, I mean, seriously, there are millionaires and billionaires that people don't even know the names of because they're not famous, they're just rich. It sounds like we're being really money grabby, and we're not. We're just trying to show the definition of between the two.
Yes, yeah. We're just saying that, a little extra money in our pocket, especially in this economy, would be nice.
Oh yes.
But I don't want to be in the limelight.
No, no. Because then all the little critters and trolls will come crawling out. Crawling out. Anyway, back to the interview. Okay, who is your favorite character that you've created and why?
This is such a stupid question. Because I don't know, and it's hard to answer, but if I had to pick one, I would probably choose Lila Williams from my George Florence detective series. And part of that is because the George Florence series is probably, I believe, it's not the first manuscript I ever created, but it's the first manuscript that I completed and stuck with the longest, I guess. But also, Lila just drastically changed the way that I write, and she kind of remolded that series and made it so much better. And I, honest to God, I feel like I should probably list her as a co-author whenever I publish it. Because Lila is just, her personality is, again, it's hard to explain, but she's very confident and she just kind of goes about her day. She does whatever she wants. She has very little filter. She just does what needs to get done. And she shares some traits sorry, this is going to be a really messy answer. Some of her traits she shares with me, but also she has traits that I kind of wish I had. And I'm very happy with who I am. I'm not saying that, oh, I wish I was more like this fictional character, but I think when anybody reads a book, they want the character to be likable, they want it to be relatable, and they want to put themselves in that character's shoes and go on that adventure either with them or as them. And they picture themselves going on that journey. And it's because it makes you feel good because it's not something that you could do in real life. So it's like it's kind of fulfilling some sort of fantasy, fictional fantasy, whatever. I don't know how to describe it. And that's kind of what Lila does for me because she does. She just goes out there and does what she needs to do. And again, she's confident and she's a little bit of a dork and I just really love her. But also when I was a kid, I wanted to be a secret agent. That was the very first thing I ever wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be a secret agent. I don't even know what exactly that entails. And Lila is kind of living that dream for me. She's working with a private detective and she's solving crime and murder. And I don't have the stomach for it. So I'll let my fictional character do it for me. And it's great.
I love that. I don't have the stomach for it, but it's okay. I'm, vicariously living through my character who can deal with all the blood and gore that I don't have to deal with.
But she can't though, which is also a little nice thing because I throw in that little caveat where it's like, it's not, I don't know. When I read a lot of mystery books, when you have like those amateur sleuths and they find a dead body, like, yeah, they'll freak out a little bit, but they don't like, it doesn't necessarily bother them. And I find that to be the most unrealistic thing in most mystery books.
I always find it funny because if you ever watch Columbo, he is actually really squeamish. There's like episodes where they're showing him like crime scene photos or autopsy photos, and he's just like looking away and passing it on to the next person. And I love that, the idea that the detective is not actually able to cope with it very well. So I think that's quite human. That's quite a human thing. And this is another reason why you have to finish that series, or at least book one, and get it out, because I want to meet these characters. You've been talking about them. I want to meet them. No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah, I've been talking about that. I think I created them in like 2011, 2012, 2013. I really don't remember when, but it's been a hot minute. I know. And that's why when I started Operations Anonymous, I was so into that series that I got so stuck on George and Lila because I can't do math. And I had to take a break from it. But it will inevitably eventually happen. I don't know when, but it's still on my list. I'm not gonna give up on them. It's been too long. I can't.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to hear. We didn't want to find out that Lila and George have been kind of like shunted to the back of the filing cabinet, never to see the light of day again. Because honestly, I want to meet these characters. So, but yeah, seriously, no pressure. Because I've said you write as you need to write, and it's horrible when you hit those walls in a story, and you start. I'm not saying you did, but you start resenting the story because you struggle to get through something. And then you can't always push through that because you could end up hating it so much that you don't even want to finish it. So sometimes you do need to take those breaks. Otherwise, it stops being an enjoyment and it starts being a massive chore.
No, exactly. And George and Lila is such an ambitious project because there's 10 books in the series. And I got my inspiration from Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, that visual novel video game series. And in those games, you have like a present case, but it links back to something that happened in the past. And that's kind of what George and Lila is all about. There's multiple stuff going on. And again, I got stuck on the timeline because I can't do math and I just don't have the brain power to figure it out. And I think I roped myself into this hole and I'm still trying to crawl back out of it. And that's why I was like, I'm just going to rest here and take a break and work on something else.
Sounds like maybe you need to brainstorm with someone, like talk through the issue. Sometimes sometimes you need somebody else's point of view to kind of spot something that you missed.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is everybody's ages and stuff, because the way I had it worked out, I think George would have become a detective at like 14. I'm like, that's not, no.
Yeah, no.
I'm like, that can't, like, and I didn't realize that. I'm like on the final draft and I'm like, everything's all hunky-dory. I'm gonna finally finish this. And then there was one chapter, it had a date, and I was like, wait a second. And I just, yeah, it's bad.
No, it's just a blip. It's just a blip. We all get ourselves into those little blip holes, and
No, it's a blimp. Not a blip, a blimp.
you need to pop the blimp, and then you'll be fine.
We'll see.
Okay, next question. Would you ever do a reading of your work?
No. No. Online, maybe.
You talk on a podcast. You'd be fine.
But it's okay. Okay. Talk on a podcast, but it's not live. It's just you and me with the occasional guest. And when we're talking to a guest, it's about them. The spotlight's not on me. But so maybe I would do a reading of my work online. Maybe I would record myself doing it and put it on YouTube or something like that. But in person, I don't know. I got to be doped up on heavy anxiety meds if I'm going to do one in person. That's it. That's my answer for that.
I can understand that. It's like it's kind of cool listening to someone talk about their story and read their story, but then thinking about doing it yourself. And it's funny because you actually speak really well. Like if you've ever been on Rachel's coffee page and she puts videos up and she talks so well in them and so comfortably. And you could sit there thinking, yeah, I could totally listen to you reading some of your work, like totally.
I appreciate you saying that, but one of my most recent updates, well, not at the time of this episode comes out, I'm like stuck in the past. I forget, was it my August or my September update where I totally forgot a word? I was trying to say generic and I said genetic. I think. So yeah, it's funny that you say that I speak well. I've listened to myself on this podcast. I think while I speak. So I pause in mid-sentence like all the time.
Yeah, but isn't that because you make really like fine notes and then just sort of talk through them? If you were reading from a script, like reading from a book, wouldn't it be easier? I say this as someone who wouldn't myself, but wouldn't that be easier?
I don't know. I genuinely do not know, because sometimes I make notes that I read from and I still screw it up. So I don't know.
We may have to have an online reading as the next mini Merry Moment Monday.
Only if you do it too.
I don't have anything published yet.
I am dragging you down with this ship. If I have to do it, you have to do it too.
I'm going to say something. My rough English accent, because I'm from up north of England, isn't conducive to talking and reading. The subtle American accent that you have is.
I don't even know what conducive means, Ari.
Neither do I, but I know I used it in the correct context, I think.
I don't know. I'm going to say you didn't.
That is also a reason why I'd be awful at reading it out. And also, you're the one who's got the book out.
I don't know vocabulary either.
You're just reading. You've got a book out. I haven't got a book out yet.
Well, get on that.
No, because
No
then you'll make me
pressure.
read. You'll make me read out loud.
No. If I have to do it, you have to do it too. That's
I
it.
suppose I could read part of the short story in one of the anthologies.
Yeah.
Well, why did I have to get dragged into this?
You have to.
This is your interview about you, not me.
It was your idea. I am dragging you down with this ship.
I am the ideas person. I am not the doing person. I just throw ideas out and walk away.
No. But you're right. Yeah, you have 2 stories out and 2 anthologies. Yeah. If you're reading, oh, this is happening. This is happening. And you're going to do it first because I said so.
No. Youth before old.
Youth before old. Really? You're going to throw that at me?
Yes, I am.
Oh my God.
Okay, let's get back to the last question. This interview is running amok. This is not helping our situation with how we're going to run with the guests.
It's us, though. I think this is what people expect from us.
It really is. Okay, so with all that said, what are you currently working on?
Not George. I'll tell you that much. I'm sorry to say. But no, I am currently working on the sequel to Apparitions Anonymous. And I think I can safely share the title. It's going to be titled Happily Ever Afterlife, because we love play on words, and that one couldn't be alliteration. So, but there we go. So working on the sequel to Apparitions Anonymous. And I'm also working on Anxiety, which is the first novel, again, more series, the first novel in my Perk Up Cozy Mystery series. And it is like a straight cozy mystery that if you know all the tropes of cozy mystery, that's pretty much what it is. But I did put a couple of little twists on like the typical romantic trope that's typically found in cozy mysteries. And I'm also giving it more of a mental health focus because, as I was saying earlier, I find it kind of unrealistic when amateur sleuths don't have any problem with finding dead bodies and seeing bloody weapons and things like that. So there's going to be like a huge portion of mental health within that series. And I mean, anxiety. I myself am a huge anxiety ball. So I actually know what I'm talking about with this one.
Personally, I have to say that title for your second book in the Grim Reaper Files is perfect. I love it. And I love that you've already got the title. It's so you.
That's what usually happens.
But also, I love the anxiety because it's spelled like anxiety as in a cup of tea. And I'm just all over that anyway. And also the perk up, like percolation and things like that. Is it like that? Is it like connected to percolation?
I don't know what percolation is. You're throwing out all these vocabulary words at me.
You can just say words. Words is fine. But like percolate, you know, when you percolate tea and coffee, percolate. I'll be honest, percolation might not be a word because I have a habit of randomly making up words. But to percolate, when you percolate tea and coffee. Apparently not.
I meant perk up as in caffeine, but also perk up from like a mental health standard.
Oh, okay, that's still
so
works,
it's kind of like a mixture of both. Like the coffee shop is called Perk Up because, you know, caffeine, but then perk up, it's also kind of anxiety, depression, like, yay, perk up.
Got it. No, that makes sense.
Which is really bad advice. Don't tell somebody to perk up if they're depressed. But
yeah.
Just saying.
But that's why it works, because it's like that's those things that everyone who has depression and anxiety hears all the time. Perk up, smile, you'll feel better. But no, so that's good. So we'll obviously be expecting those to come out like really soon. because you've been on a roll. So yeah,
Oh,
I'm assuming like
absolutely.
March or something.
For
Like, get 'em
sure.
out.
Tomorrow. Even better.
Rachel says tomorrow. That's what we're expecting.
Yes.
No, but that's great. So it's like you're still moving on with these things. And as always, I am anxious to read them. So get them written and get them
Me
out.
too.
Okay, that is all the questions we have. We will have some bonus questions that we're going to put up on Coffee because we have to try and encourage you people to go and look at our Coffee page. We spent a lot of time on it. And seriously, there's so much free shit on there that you can go and have a look at and just like download for free. So yeah, so we are going to sort out some bonus questions that I think are going to be quite fun as well, if we remember to actually do it. Before we leave, if you want to learn more about us, the podcast, opportunity to be a guest on the show, don't forget to check out our website at themerrywriterpodcast.podbean.com. Now we'll turn it over to you guys. Do you have any questions you want to ask Rachel? Put them in the comments so that she can answer them. And yeah, remember, we release new episodes every Wednesday. Next week, we're discussing book platforms authors can be on. To ensure you don't miss it, hit the subscribe button on your way out. And as always, thanks for listening to the Merry Writer Podcast. We'll see you next week. This podcast is brought to you by Writing Goals. Set too many. So true. The music titled Inspired is by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under Creative Commons 4.0.